And we are live with another episode of Commercial Roofing Radio. And I'm here with my good friend Jeff Bowab of RYNO Strategic Solutions. And man, if you haven't heard of RYNO Strategic Solutions, you're living under a rock, because they are the best home service marketing company in the industry, really any industry for that matter. And they're who I recommend. He's my good friend over there. And thanks for joining us today, Jeff.
Alan, man, I really am excited about talking today. Thanks for inviting me. The feeling is mutual. I've loved getting to know you over the last couple of years, so I'm ready to get at it today.
Perfect. And this is Commercial Roofing Radio. So we talk big things, big business, big roofs, or just great business to business in general. So one of the reasons why I wanted you on the show is because your experience in the business to business world. So you've been in that world, or the world in general, for a long time, haven't you, Jeff? So yes, that is an old joke. But tell us a little bit about that. How did you end up with RYNO? How did you end up in marketing?
So I've pretty much been in marketing my entire life, sales and marketing. Started in the phone book industry, so you can pile on that a little bit later, I'm sure.
Phone books.
Started in the phone book industry, where everyone had to be. And it's obviously morphed over into Google. Google is now the online phone book, and it works for, business to local homeowner. It works for business to business. It works, it just works. We are attached to our phones and our tablets nowadays. So how you find those different, customers is a little bit different, but it's still the same. We're all going to Google. It'll just be for a different reason, for your B2C versus your B2B customer. So
the phone book world, what do you mean? So were you selling phone books, or back us up a little bit, right? So explain that to me.
Kind of funny story. I remember going for an interview. My dad was like, all right, you got to get a job now. You're finished school. You got to go get a real job. And now, to put some context in this, my dad was in the Army for 26 years. He worked for General Colin Powell. He worked for President George W. Bush in the White House. He was John McCain's chief of staff. So imagine me going, my dad's like, hey, what are you going to do with your life? I'm going to sell ads in the phone book. So I remember coming home, and I had offers from a bank, a traditional bank, which is now Bank of America. It was Nations Bank at the time. And
should have taken that one. Should have taken that one. What are you thinking?
So my dad was like, all right, so you got this bank over here, and I don't even understand what you're talking about selling phone book ads. I'm like, no, Dad, you don't understand. I'm going to be rich. Like, I'm going to sell phone book ads. It's going to be amazing. And he's like, no, you're going to go work for the bank. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to go sit in that bank 30 years and die, and they give me a pen when I'm done. Like, not happening. Yeah. So my dad was not happy with me when I took the job, and still to this day, we're playing golf on the weekends, and he's like, what do you do again? Like, what, you sell websites? I'm like, yeah, Dad, that's what I do. So it's been a long way since then, and I don't think he's ever forgiven me.
Every time you miss a ball or something, he's probably like, man, if you were a banker, you'd have more time to work on that swing.
That's right. He's like, you'd have a really great handicap if you just went into banking. But it's worked out okay.
That's really cool. So what would you do? And I get involved with this because it interests me. Like, people don't really understand that business concepts are universal. So if you take what you learn and what you were doing, working for Yellow Pages, working for the phone book, which Yellow Page was that the phone book service you used to work for? Right. So if you used to work for them and you apply that to Google, to your marketing nowadays, or even just you selling that, like when you would go out and sell people these Yellow Page ads, that business to business service. So, walk me through that.
So people use on the phone book and Google for a variety of reasons. And what we're trying to do for customers is do three things: profit, prestige, protection. Really, for the commercial, customer, it's more around prestige and protection. So what I mean by that is let's say that you get a referral, one project manager talks to another. You want to make sure that if they go to your website, that the website matches up to the capabilities that you want to portray to that project manager. Because let's say that you're going to do a $100,000, $500,000, $1 million roof, right? And they come to your website and it's horrible. How do you think that project manager is going to feel about calling that roofer? They're probably not going to feel good. So you might feel like, hey, commercial is not really driven by Google. For prestige and protection and capability purposes, absolutely it is. It might be more of a direct research versus the homeowner calling you directly going, hey, I got a leak, Alan. Can you come out today? So it is still super valuable. There are still people searching for commercial roofers in every DMA in the country, and we can pull that information for the commercial roofer.
Yeah. I look at it like a checkbox. It's like things that you have to have. I mean, if I put myself in that mindset of the multi-million-dollar roof business owner, what do I need to qualify this roofing contractor? And if they have a shitty website, that's going to disqualify them immediately. I may not buy from you because you have the best website, but I sure as hell am not going to buy from you if you have a bad website. Is that kind of what you're saying when it comes to that?
That's 100% correct. I mean, imagine owning, let's say, a strip shop. There's strip shops in every town that commercial roofers are in. And let's say that it's going to be a fairly large job. And I learn about your company. I go on your website, and it's amazing. That might not be the tipping point, to your point, but let's say that it's crappy. I'm not going to choose you. Like, in my mind, I'm conditioned to go, that's probably a crappy company. I don't care what they told me, but that's not going to be the company that I choose.
Yeah. So is there any specific things that you've seen, and now we're talking marketing for a commercial roofing company, what are the differences between marketing that residential company and that roofing and that commercial company? Any major differences?
Again, it's going to be from a commercial standpoint, it's going to be more research and contextual, right? Like learning about that company, their capabilities, other projects that they've done. From a residential standpoint, it's going to be more about direct action, right? You are going to want to learn about, is my roof done? How long do your roof last? What can you do to take care of your roof? All of those things. But when your roof's leaking, from a residential standpoint, it's more direct. From a commercial standpoint, they're doing more contextual research. So you want to make sure that you've properly told your story. When people need to go on and learn about commercial roofs and learn about great commercial roofing contractors, like you want to have all those FAQs answered. It's super important because you might not get a call from a commercial standpoint for 6 months, a year, but the website, they're going to be researching you all throughout, whereas a residential homeowner is going to be a much quicker action.
Yeah. And who's usually doing that? Like, so I think about, as you're talking, I think about, again, I put myself in the shoes of that decision maker. Is it even the decision maker that's going to look at websites? Are they Googling commercial roofing company, and are they the one that's looking at this? And do they care about price? What's their motivators? What makes them choose you over somebody else? So, does that need to be on the website? Like, what all are you thinking?
Absolutely. Like, you definitely want to have differentiators, right? I like, something crazy, but I like good jobs featured and then jobs that have not been done well. Like, you can find those wherever you're at. I mean, people are going behind jobs that are done poorly. So before and afters, right, that people can relate to. All your differentiators, all the local work, all the associations that you're in, all the accreditations that you have. I mean, you are looking to feature yourself and stand out because everyone does commercial roofs. Like, when I'm Googling commercial roofing contractors, Dallas, Texas, a bunch of people are going to pop up. But you're really going to want to, feature and focus on all the things that separate you from everyone else in the market.
Yeah, if you ask any roofer if they do commercial roofs, their answer is always going to be yes. And that's why I always try to ask, like, what's the split? Is it like 50-50, 75-25? And the real answer is everybody wants to do commercial, whether they do or not. So like you said, I mean, I guess does that affect like the SEO, the PPC stuff? Is it like, are you competing against residential roofers, even if you're a commercial roofer?
So to your point, everyone wants to be a commercial roofer because they see the size of the jobs. It's all about targeting what keywords that you want to go after. So, unfortunately, because commercial is so untapped from the Google side, you do see a lot of residential roofers that want to do commercial. So it's important in your local market that you are optimizing on Google, because if not, the customer is going to call somebody that's probably not, able to do the job correctly, definitely going to mess up, so it is important, right, that you are optimizing yourself, that you're targeting the correct keywords, that you are setting yourself apart, especially if you're strictly commercial, right? You want to notate that on your website, like, hey, every roofer is not made the same. I know people say that they do commercial, but we are strictly commercial. We've been in business for 20 years, serving this local community, only doing commercial roofs. We are the commercial roofing expert in the marketplace.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. I mean, to me, marketing and sales are, two sides of the same coin. They really are. And everything that you would probably tell somebody that their website should be or their marketing should be is something I tell them that should be in their sales pitch. It's the same exact thing, right? You got to differentiate yourself. You got to be better. You got to show why to use you and not somebody else. And RYNO, clear answer is you don't need to know any of this. If you hire RYNO, just go hire RYNO and have them do all that for you. It's pretty simple.
We outsource everything in life, right? I don't cut my own hair, cut my own grass. We have a cleaning person that comes into our house, a lot of us a couple times a month or whatever. It's the same reason we tell people don't mess with your HVAC system or your roof or all these things. Hire the professional, right? It only costs, people are like, oh my God, it's so expensive. It's not expensive. Imagine having to do it 3 times. That's expensive, right? So you're going to want to make sure, like, you want to be optimized, you want to be there. But again, we outsource everything. Like, call your local roofer, get that, accreditate, the roofer that's accredited, that, has been in the community, has some projects online. Those are the things you want to look for.
Yeah, I'm a huge believer in outsourcing. I mean, you should, if you want to be the best commercial roofer, focus on commercial roofing. Don't focus on marketing and commercial roofing. You shouldn't try to build a marketing business inside of your commercial roofing business. That's a good way to waste a lot of time, waste a lot of money, and get a big dip in your sales. With that notion, what do you think about all of and I'll tell you my opinion on it, but what do you think about all the people that are like, oh, I want to go in-house with this. I want to do this kind of stuff in-house with marketing.
So obviously, that's tricky, right?
Yeah.
I tell people at RYNO, we have a dev team, a design team, an LSA team, a PPC team, an SEO team, a video production team. How do you hire 1 or 2 people in-house? And let's face it, it's probably going to be one person that's excellent at all of those things, right? And then if they are, how much do you have to pay that person, right? What typically works better in my experience is, yes, you can have an in-house marketing person, but they work with your outsourced marketing company, right? Nike doesn't do their marketing in-house. They have marketing people, but they have agencies that build their commercials and, handle their spends and things like that. Geico, another great, they have a marketing team, but they outsource everything. So same thing here. You're going to want to have probably somebody as you get up to $5, $10, $15, $20 million that can do maybe some video content, right? That can do some written content for you, maybe even manage some social stuff, and that can work with your outsourced marketing company on a month-to-month basis and hold them accountable. That's kind of my thoughts on it. Nothing wrong with it. In fact, the best companies have some type of marketing in-house, but they're still going to outsource the heavy lifting.
It's like a point of contact, right? It's like, this is the person that deals with the people that do it, because I don't have the time to even deal with them at that point as you keep growing. my opinion is everybody, you should know everything. Knowledge is power. So I'm all for go. If you want to spend some money to go learn something, spend some money, go learn it. But that doesn't mean your focus should ever be on that. Your focus should be on your business. Now, there's a couple rules that may break that. Maybe if you're really small and you truly can't afford to outsource, then okay. But nobody wants to be really small. Everybody wants to be big. And the other one, I could see an argument with it if you're really large and you're trying to go like the absolute biggest and you're trying to vertically integrate. But again, most people don't even want to be there. And believe it or not, most people aren't going to get there. The absolute biggest company out there, it's really tough. Now that in between, outsourcing is the goal. Outsourcing is what's going to keep you the best and everything else. So even if you were that vertically integrated, that biggest company, say you're the biggest roofing company, the biggest commercial roofing company there is, you'd have to continually hire and train your experts. I mean, don't you have like continuing education type things that your experts have to do continually?
One of the things that we do at RYNO is every month you're required to do education. So we're constantly learning and growing. So 12 times a year, we're having to better our craft, better our trade, no matter what it is. It could be about ChatGPT that's going on right now. It could be about a plethora of things. But yes, we're constantly doing that. And again, I agree with you about outsourcing. Like, look, I can cook, but I outsource to DoorDash a whole heck of a lot. It's just what we do.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen it. Again, in your lifetime, going back to Jeff, you started with, the Yellow Pages. You started with the, I keep missing the name of it, Yellow Page ads, right? And now you're all the way up to digital marketing, ChatGPT. Like there's always this new trend or this new thing in marketing. How often does marketing changes? How often do you see big changes when it comes to marketing?
I mean, the paradigm shifts are becoming faster and faster because of technology, right? You had industries that stood for many, many, many years. Take Blockbuster, for instance, right? You had Blockbuster that was around several years ago, and they would not adapt. They would not believe that the digital format and platform was going to take off. So they held true to, hey, people love to come in our store and read the boxes and buy popcorn, which they did at the time. But as technology made that just seem dumb, right? Take the newspaper and the newspaper industry. Imagine telling your kids, like you have a young kid. Imagine saying, "Hey, there's this guy that gets up at 2:00 in the morning. He puts all these things in his car, and then he throws them on your driveway, and that's the news." I mean, that sounds crazy to me now, but 15 years ago, everybody got the newspaper. Everybody got the newspaper. Now, my dad still gets the newspaper, but I'm like, Dad, you could see that on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. It's old by the time you get it. And he's like, well, I like to read the newspaper with my coffee.
Yeah.
Okay. But the younger generation wants it quick. They want it mobile, and they want it accessible in many different places. So paradigms are changing fast. I believe, I know this is going to sound crazy, but 10 years from now, I don't know if Google is going to be the predominant way that we get our ads and things. Again, pretty interesting with what's going on with ChatGPT, OpenAI, which Microsoft put $10 billion into.
They're taking a big whack at that Google. They're trying hard.
And Google came out with Bard, and it was a big flop to begin with. Mm-hmm. So going to be super interesting where Bing starts to pick up some market share, I believe. But then there's going to be something else on the horizon. Nothing lasts forever anymore. And people like new stuff, right? Google's been around forever. It's very interesting, but kind of boring in its delivery and format. Mm-hmm. So, if I was Jeff Bezos, I'd be like, how do we capture some of this? He's got the money. Yeah. But paradigms change very fast right now.
It does, man. And let's get back to that. I want to go back to Jeff, right? I love RYNO, and I couldn't recommend your company enough. But walk me more through your transition between how you got here. What was that next step for you? Did you see technology changing and you had to get on that? Was it personal reasons? Like, why did you make those shifts, and what led you to RYNO?
Great question. So, I remember sitting there. We're in these meetings. That, I worked for one of the baby bell companies. So, they broke. When the phone companies got deregulated and kind of broke up into different regional companies. So here in the South, I worked for a company called Bell Atlantic, and print. I remember in the Virginia, D.C., Maryland, Pennsylvania area, we were a $4 billion yellow page company, $4 billion back in the late 90s. I remember we were sitting in a meeting and they're like, hey, there's this new thing out called a website and we're going to sell them. So anyone back in the day, like we had in the trades or lawyers or whatever, they'd pay you $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a month for these ads, right? So we're sitting in this meeting and I'm like, well, this sounds great, man. This is like George Jetson flying over, the city to get to work. Like, this is where we need to be. I'm like, how much do these websites cost? And they're like, $99 a month. I'm like, okay. And how do we process one of these? Well, we got these 20-page questionnaires that you're going to need to fill out with the customer before we can build a website. And I'm like, okay. I said, well, let me stop you there. I got two challenges right now. Customers paying $50,000 a month. We told them that we've invented this internet thing. It's going to revolutionize the world, and that's going to be $99 a month. Do you see a problem there? We're going to start to cannibalize, and that's exactly what happened. We'd go out to customers for the next year's edition and go, hey, Mr. Lawyer, this website's going to be amazing. Wow, this sounds really good. So you really believe in the internet, right? Yeah, it's going to be amazing. We're going to draw so many new cases to you. Great. Let's not spend $50,000 this year a month. Let's spend $37,000, and let's try this internet thing. So immediately they were cutting revenue because they believed in the internet. So I was there for about 10 years. Most people that have ever worked in print yellow pages will tell you it was the best job they've ever had. It was the easiest. We were making the most money. But at that point, we were done. The internet killed the yellow pages. So back in the early 2000s, really the big money in print yellow pages started to dissipate, and it just disappeared. And all those companies are barely hanging on today. So I kind of transitioned and got into the more the digital side of it. I worked for a company called autotrader.com, which also had print books that were in gas stations, and
they're very innovative. Auto Trader was very innovative because they had the website and the magazine, basically.
The little magazines. Now, the magazines don't exist anymore today, right? To tell you how things change, Wawa, which is here like in Pennsylvania, Virginia, D.C., Maryland.
Yeah, great gas station. If you never had Wawa, go check one out. It's one of the best. I think they're the pretzels. What is the cream cheese stuffed pretzels with the
amazing.
Yeah, great. Stop by Wawa. Absolutely.
So stop by Wawa. Wawa should sponsor this podcast.
Yeah.
But they stopped being a distribution center. So Auto Trader had an agreement. Hey, we're just going to provide value for your customers, drop off magazines. So there were distribution points everywhere. Well, Wawa finally said, no, you're going to pay us. And Auto Trader was like, no, we're not going to pay you. So that business started to decline. Started to work with a company called yellowpages.com, which was owned by AT&T at the time. The Yanos, who own RYNO, were there as well. So, that's kind of started to be my transition over. Then I worked for another company called Flypaper with a buddy of mine that I'd worked for at yellowpages.com. At that point, I was traveling every week of the year. Every week. Man. Yeah. Sometimes Sunday through Friday. So it was tough. So I remember reaching out to Chris, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to start my own agency. I got a couple questions. You've obviously been super successful. Can you help me through this? And Chris, being the great salesperson that he is, he was like, no, you're just going to come work for me. I'm like, no, I don't want to go work for anyone else. I want to work for myself. And here I am. So
and here you are.
It's been a great marriage. RYNO, 15 years in the business. We're super reputable. We've helped thousands of customers over the last 15 years, and we only serve the trades, which is what I really love. So this is where I am today. We're on a path where we are building and growing tremendously, adding people on every single month at RYNO, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, I love it. What a cool story. So you were there with Yano left and then stole you back over with him. That's really cool.
Chris and his wife were both at yellowpages.com.
Oh, they were both there. Wow.
They were both there.
Wow. They so with all of this, so you're selling ads for that was basically your position for all of these. What did that sale look like? Were you cold calling businesses? How would you go to businesses? And I ask because it relates to commercial roofing. We are selling business to business. So how would you sell those businesses on those ads?
So a lot of different ways. And I've been in sales and sales leadership for, the past 25 years. A lot of it recently has been, the last 15 sales leadership. But, there really is no different way under the sun today than there was 20 years ago. You are building relationships on the commercial side, right? Yep. Getting out, meeting project managers, seeing construction sites that are out there, walking around the community, being involved, giving back to the community, putting your name out there. On the residential side, obviously it's more bare knuckles, right? You're knocking on people's doors out in neighborhoods, like you're leaving flyers. But here's a really cool thing. No matter what you do from a commercial or residential standpoint, all the hard work that you've done, guess where they're eventually going to come back to? Your website.
Yeah.
So no matter if you're from a commercial standpoint, residential standpoint, you're meeting project managers, you're meeting real estate companies, whatever you're doing from a commercial standpoint, they're still going to come back to your website and learn all about you. And I tell people I hate for people to be working so hard, they have $1 million work ethic, but their website looks like they paid $150 for it because it's not going to compute with the person that you're talking to once they come back to that website. It's got to match up the way that you're portraying your company.
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. Again, that's one of the first steps, if not the first step that you have to get into if you're getting into business. And then commercial, again, that's one of the first things that they're going to do is look you up. And if they look you up and you look like shit, they're going to go a different direction every single time. But yeah, I try to relate everything back to business because that's what commercial roofing is. So many of our guests and so many of our listeners, they're trying to get into commercial. So they're looking for any edge they can. I know you're a wealth of knowledge when it comes to, sales teams and leadership and really selling business to business. So one other thing, RYNO, when you first started, you were only in the HVAC with RYNO, or were you doing all home services?
So we primarily did HVAC, plumbing, electrical, garage doors. And then we went to IRE in Vegas. I guess it's been 3 years ago now. Chris and I flew in for the day. We attended some workshops, some of the breakouts for marketing, and we looked at each other and were like, they're like in 1927 with the marketing that they're receiving.
Yeah, back to Yellow Pages, right?
Back to Yellow Pages. So at that point, we both looked at each other. We flew in that day and we flew out that day from Phoenix and said, we're in.
Wow. So that was it. That was the decision. It was that fast. We're going into roofing.
It was that fast. Well, we had been researching it, obviously.
Okay.
Met some really cool people. We ran into John Dye out there. Talked to him. Ran into some other influential folks that we just asked questions. We talked to some other marketing companies. But again, after kind of seeing what was going on, we were like, we can really help this industry. We've been doing it for so long for other parts of the trades, right? We really see an opportunity to come in, educate, edify, just really help out. And, ever since then, it's been amazing. And we've got some really cool things coming up. Like we've partnered with NERCA. We're going to be doing some webinars for NERCA members here upcoming. That's going to be
that's
really
the NRCA, correct?
Yes, NRCA, sorry.
National Roofing Contractors Association. I always say NRCA. You're the first person I've heard say NERCA, but I like it. It sounds cool. Do they call it NERCA? After you said that the first, do they call it NERCA? Does the NRCA call it NERCA, or is that?
I'll have to ask them when we do our webinar.
It's maybe we're doing it. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. I have no idea. So
NRCA. So we're going to be doing.
You can say NERCA. I'm probably going to say NERCA now. I like NERCA. It's cooler.
But NRCA, we're going to be doing some webinars on really talking around some of the retail piece, right? Like easy in, easy out. Commercial roofers can do it. Even retail roofers are not doing it well. So we're going to be talking about that. I believe we have a 4-part series over the next couple months. Chris, myself, Mike, who's our Chief Experience Officer at RYNO, will be doing, I think, some free tools that commercial and residential roofers could implement today.
So that's one of the things I wanted to get to was retail. I know HVAC is all retail. I mean, you don't have any insurance restoration in HVAC, correct?
But you do have a lot of commercial work, right? So it's not
retail repair.
Yep, not typically, insurance driven for sure. I did want to make note of another group that we work with, Sales Transformation Group.
Oh, okay.
So, from a commercial standpoint, they work with a lot of heavy hitters in the commercial industry. So from a process, people, training aspect, that really helps maximize what we do digitally. So between, NRCA again, Sales Transformation Group, we're tied in commercially.
Wow. So yeah, you have your hands all throughout commercial. Coming from the HVAC business, and HVAC is 25 years, maybe 15 years at best, ahead of the roofing industry. Where we're going. So I always think commercial roofing is probably 15 years behind residential roofing in my mind. So I think you have a lot of value to add in all of that because you've been in that realm. You can help your partners really work through that. I say partners because you bring in a client, you're going to treat them like a partner, just like we would do. Like the retail repair work, which is very marketing led. I believe that's where commercial roofing contractors should start in repair, retail, and then if they get insurance restoration, that's just a bonus. Wouldn't you say? Is that a lot of what the Sales Transformation Group teaches and a lot of what you'll teach in your webinars, or am I way off?
Yeah, we'll teach that for sure and show them how to delve into that. I was just in Texas not too long ago, and Avco and Sales Transformation Group put on an event. It was 4 days for about 75 contractors, pretty intimate, where they really taught them, it was a lot of commercial guys trying to get into residential because the profit margins on a retail side of it are so high. So what we showed them was the number of people looking for roof repair. Then think about this. What if you captured 1% of that search market? Here's what an average roofing repair would be on the residential side. And then how many of those do you convert over to actual roof replacements? So just in that, Grapevine area, it was $1 million market. And we're sitting there with $2, $3, $4, $5 million roofing contractors. And I'm like, would you love to add on 50% to your bottom line, 20% to your bottom line? It's there currently. And if you're just waiting on weather, Hail Trace was there. And he said in the last 3 years, there had not been hail where it would have been, approved by insurance, right? So I asked him, I said, Justin, what do these guys do when they can't get these jobs approved by our insurance? He said, they go out of business. And I said, so why not use a tool like Google, who we're all using all the time, right, to pick up this $1 million of free money that we already know exists. So it was a really cool show. A lot of commercial roofers out there, folks that were starting to do residential as well. So we do events like that. In addition to the NRCA, we'll go out and speak at events and show them from a marketing perspective, here's what you can add.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, what we do at National Claims Advisors is a lot different as well. We're doing a lot of MSAs, which it's crazy that roofing contractors and residential roofing and really commercial roofing. It's just an untapped market for them. Everything that you talk about as it pertains to commercial roofing that seems like it's some giant epiphany to roofers is just probably second nature for you, in whether it's the HVAC or your personal experience. Is that how it goes, or is this all new concepts to you as well?
No, I mean, it's not new concepts. The way people search for things really hasn't changed that much, right? So we're just trying to match search intent with where we send them. Commercially, residentially, how you search for, a restaurant when you're going to go out, an iPhone, a vacation. Yeah. It's really all the same, right? You have an interest, and then what the other person on the other end is trying to do is match that intent, right? And it doesn't matter that it's commercial. Like, there is commercial search everywhere that you're at. But again, I do think the roofing industry is so far behind from a marketing standpoint. It's funny. Whenever I go speak somewhere, I'll say, hey, if you guys needed something in your personal life, vacation, new car, cell phone, new restaurant, place to go get coffee, what would you do? And they're all like, we'd Google it. Do you know people are Googling for roofing contractors commercially and residentially as well? And they're like, yeah. Then why aren't you there, right? And what challenges tradespeople is then they think, okay, but I'm doing all these things. Now I'm going to go do Google. It's not a either or, right? It's a and situation, right? So it doesn't have to be I change everything around. Do the things that you're doing. Meet with project managers. Go out and be involved in the community. Do all the things that you're doing. Showcase your work. Participate in RFPs, like bids that people want. But also be on Google. It's not it doesn't have to be an or thing. It's an and thing. That's what we're trying to teach the industry right now. And I think we've made some inroads here and some epiphanies with some people. It's and, not or.
It's and, not or. I love that. You can do. It's not mutually exclusive. That's what I tell people all the time. It's not, be a company that does marketing, that does repair, that does retail, and you can't do insurance restoration. You can't do door-to-door. You can't do relationship sales. No, it should be both. I do believe there should be a little bit of a different pay structure when it comes to the salespeople on paid leads, like marketing leads, and self-generated leads. Salespeople won't love that, but it's just, if you're spending more money to get this lead, and it all goes cost of acquisition, and the people that are paid off a profit, it really doesn't make a difference as long as you're really tied into your cost of acquisition. Then you put that on that job, or however you want to do it. But I really love that. So what about the future? You mentioned that Google, you don't foresee being what it is today 10 years from now. Do you have any predictions of the future of marketing? Are we all going to be walking around in the meta universe and picking our places? I mean, I know my personal, I go to Google Maps when I look for stuff. I don't even use Google. I use Google Maps. It's an app that Google uses. Is it like more applications? Everything's going mobile, going apps. People are going to get away from laptops, desktops. Where's the world going?
So you're really putting me on the spot to say, where's the world going with marketing?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a really great question, and I'm not sure that I 100% understand. But I do realize with AI is going to make things much easier, right, to find people. And I know that scares the heck out of people. They're like, oh, my God, it's going to put people out of work and all these things. Well, of course it will. It's going to change some industries, right? And then it's going to elevate some other industries. But I would say with ChatGPT coming out now, I think it's going to rival search engines, right? It's what you need minus ads. I recently bought a home espresso machine, for instance. Normally I'd go Google home espresso machines, and you'd get Williams-Sonoma, Target, Walmart, wherever. But what I did was I said, hey, I want the top 5 home espresso machines between this price point and this price point, and I want the pros and the cons between these machines. And in 30 seconds, it spit out more information than I could probably consume on Google without having to jump around all over. And I made my decision based on that.
But it's finding its information from Google? Is it? So it's going to Google. It's going to basically blog posts, people's blog posts, Wikipedia's. It's all a rigged game to me. You know, like it's all such a rigged game. Maybe I'm a skeptic or untrustworthy, but when I go to Google and I search something, I know somebody somewhere has written that, and they've probably been pretty biased when they wrote it, and they just have more people that see it. So that's why I am seeing it. Is that really the number one espresso maker? Or is that because it's got more blog posts that it's the number one espresso maker by people who blog it and all of that? I think I realize that. It's like, I just want the number one espresso machine. Like, can we get some honesty? Is AI going to fix that? And that's my question. That's what I'm getting at. Is AI going to fix the dishonesty in the rigged game, or is it always going to be a rigged game? And hey, maybe the best espresso machine is the one that pays the most money for the marketing, so you're winning regardless. Maybe.
Now, let me tell you, the one that I bought, I'm super happy with, based on ChatGPT.
There you go.
Super happy. But, you know, I do think we're going to start to see things more in the home, meaning currently you can get a thermostat. Like, people are making thermostats, right? That from an HVAC perspective, you can ping the homeowner saying, hey, you need service. Do you want service? Do you need filters? It can also tell you that, that's very cool. It can also tell you, like, if I install your HVAC system and a competitor tries to come work on it, it can alert me of that, right? So I do think that you're going to start to see some more Jetsons type thing, right? Big Brother done through the computer or done through your TV, interfaces that you have at home. Obviously, voice search is going to start to become bigger and better. And you're right. Like, from a map perspective, I think that the map user is a younger demographic. Not that you're that much younger than me, Alan, so don't get too excited. But I do think that your younger demographic is map oriented, and they've got ad fatigue, right? We've all seen these ads forever. So
I won't click an ad. I personally won't click an ad. I if there's a sponsored or whatever, I go move right past it. It's like,
see, I like the ads. I figure in my mind, if they've spent money and they can spend money on advertising, they're probably a better company, right? Now, is that right? Is that not right? I don't know. But conversely, I'm like, if they can't afford to spend money on ads, then are they a great company? Maybe not. So,
guys, everybody's mind works different. And that's why I key in and try to ask these questions, because if you're selling to anyone, whether it's business or business to homeowners, what's the name for that? What is that? Business to people, B2P, right? B2P?
B2C.
B2C, that's right. Business consumer. There we go. Yeah. Marketing guy, ask him, right? So whether it's B2C or B2B, it doesn't matter. You got to get in the mindset of the consumer. So it's super important that you've got to think about those things. Now, I think all of this is really cool, but what about how many of these people are going to be afraid? You mentioned the thermostat. I don't know if you're familiar, but Texas has been kind of shut down over the winter for the last 3 years. I would get text message alerts saying that my electric company was going to hack my Nest or my smart thermostat and change my settings. Like, that's scary. Is that something that's going to happen with all of that, or is that just no?
I think with any technology, there's risk and reward. Like my dad, for instance, I'm like, hey, we'll go play golf, and like, let's say I owe him $50 or he owes me $50. I'm like, let me just Venmo you. He's like, I'm not giving anyone my bank information.
Yeah.
I'm like, but you've got mobile banking, right? So, there's always a risk There's always a reward, but I think technology as a whole has always been a positive. There's always people out there that are trying to hack and, bring down networks and things like that. But I think as a whole, we would not be where we're at,
without
as
innovation,
a society without it. And I think it's only going to get bigger. I do think there's still going to be some peer-to-peer marketing. And what I mean by that is, younger generations really believe what each other say. And that's going to be your map and your review section, right? Your Google reviews, more so than ads, right? They really want to know, like, hey, Alan, where'd you take your wife out on Friday? Oh, you like that restaurant? That's amazing. I'm going to go try it out. So there's always going to be that peer-to-peer marketing that's going to never go away. And I think, if some of the social platforms can get it right, like a TikTok, for instance, you're going to start to see TikTok pull some market share, like how they haven't done it already. Fastest growing app in history. It's got the longest usage time of users that log in every day. Like, I think there's been a swing and miss when it comes to marketing on TikTok, but they're getting there.
Somebody's got to figure it out. You want to stay. The moral of the story is you've got to stay on that curve. Keep trying. Protect yourself. Protect your home from getting cooled down by the government or getting too hot by the government. But don't be fearful and don't let fear stop you from innovating, because innovation is coming whether you like it or not. You don't want to be at the yellow pages today. You want to be with RYNO. So with that, let's move into my favorite segment, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And I'm sure you remember Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but some people have never heard of it. Craziest thing out there. I still think it's the greatest game show of our time. I mean, how are you not glued into Regis and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? There was a whole movie made after Slumdog Millionaire. Wouldn't you agree, or are you more like a different Family Feud type of guy, or what?
I can go back and forth between Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and Jeopardy. I like Jeopardy.
Jeopardy's a classic. It is. I should guess Jeopardy. Jeopardy's a little more old school. Well, so the rules are a little bit different. So there's only 4 questions. We're not going to go too long with this.
Okay.
And you only get 2 lifelines. We have no audience, so you can't ask an audience, but you do get the 50-50, and you do get to phone a friend. Okay? So let's go ahead and get started. We didn't get to touch on this today, a little limited with time, but you're a big foodie. One of the things I remember is, I think it was the first time we ate together, you made sure to snap pictures of the food to send the pictures to your family of what you were eating to kind of include them in it. And that was really cool. I like that. So this question has to do with food. So what is the only food that can never go bad? As you see, it has to do with age too, right? It's the only food that can never go bad. A, is it Twinkies? B, a Big Mac? C, beef jerky? Or D, honey?
Wow. Man, being a foodie, I don't know if it qualifies me to really answer this.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it can't be a Big Mac, I don't think, because the bread can go bad. Beef jerky also has preservatives in it. I'm going to go... What was the third? Twinkie, beef jerky, Big Mac, honey. Son of a gun. Does this podcast get published or not published depending on how many answers I get right?
Oh, no. Because then we wouldn't publish it at all because you're getting them all wrong.
Yeah. Oh. I'm going to go with honey.
You're going to go D, honey. Is that your final answer?
Yes, Regis, that's my final answer.
All right. You're correct. It is honey. Honey does not go bad. So Twinkies is like the age old. You see like people walking around in those, what's it called? The Day After Tomorrow type movies, and they find Twinkies on the shelf, and they're still good. Yeah, it's Big Mac. I'm surprised that didn't throw you off because they have the pictures of like 10-year-old McDonald's cheeseburgers that are exactly the same. So
Yeah.
that's why I threw that one in there. But yeah, you got it right. 1 for 1. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, here's the next one. The next one, you're an avid golfer. So you actually brought up golfing a little bit, talking about your father.
Yeah.
So this one has to do with golf. Which country has the most golf courses per capita?
Oh, gosh.
Yep. Is it going to be A, Scotland,
Okay.
B, Russia, C, England, or D, great old US of A?
I feel like this is a trick question. Never been to Russia, so I don't know anything about golf courses in Russia. I mean, Scotland obviously is where it all started. United States. I'm going to go 50-50 on this one.
You're going to go 50-50 on this one. Okay. So we're going to get rid of Russia and USA. So it's either Scotland or England.
I'm going to go with Scotland.
Go with Scotland for your final answer.
Final answer.
It's Scotland. You got it. Scotland is the most per capita.
I thought so, the home of golf, but
Yeah.
Russia was kind of a wild card since I don't know anything about Russian golf, but there we
It's
go.
pretty cold there. I mean, you can't really. Well, you lost the lifeline, but you got an answer correct. So
That's
you used
okay.
it
We're
correct.
2 for 2.
Okay. So this next question, obviously marketing, digital marketing. You're always on that cutting edge of innovation, which is why you started with the amazing phone books. So let's talk about Instagram. Instagram came through and it kind of revolutionized social media, digital media marketing. So the first Instagram photo featured what animal?
Oh,
So I didn't even know it was an animal. I could have just asked you that. But the first Instagram photo was an animal. Which animal was that? Was it A, dog, B, cat, C, puppy, or D, a cow?
I feel like this is another trick question.
Could be.
Oh, well, a dog and puppy, that's one and the same.
Yes. No, I mean, you can't lump a puppy and a dog together. Puppies probably have more Instagram pictures than anybody else.
Probably. That's my first inclination, but for some reason, cow is sticking in the back of my mind. I'm not going to use my last lifeline for this one. So
Okay.
I am going to go, for whatever weird reason, I feel like it's cow, and I'm going to go cow.
Final answer. Just straight
Final
up.
answer. Straight up.
You are wrong.
Puppy?
So it's dog, actually. A dog.
Okay.
Yep. And when I looked it up, it actually had both choices, dog and puppy. So I didn't just create that to throw you off. I did throw the cow in there to throw you off. I knew it would. I should have done rhino.
It actually did throw me off. I'm like, that's
perfect.
It's got to
Just
be
how I
that.
drew it up. Just how I drew it up.
It was.
And now the next question, speaking of rhinos. So obviously RYNO Strategic Solutions.
Do we have any sports questions?
The golf question. It was the golf question. I actually asked you questions about sports teams to throw you off on what the possible questions would be. So yeah,
Okay.
it's all a big game here. It's a big game.
All right.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? This is serious implications. So the next one, you at RYNO, you're a team. You're a group. Everybody that represents you, you all do great to represent each other, and you back each other up. So rhinos, the animal, are actually very much the same. They run in groups. What is a group of rhinos called? Is it A, a herd, B, a flock, C, a crash, or D, a troop?
Pretty sure I know this one too, but I am going to phone a friend.
All right.
Hold on. Let me pull up my address book and see who might be available.
Better not be texting somebody so they can Google it.
No.
Or stay off that chat GPT.
Let's see. Who's my recent? I'm going to call Sarah.
Yep.
I think I know the answer.
I think you know.
Shalom.
Hello. So you are being recorded live on the podcast, so don't say anything crazy. We're playing
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You're my phone a friend. You're my phone a friend. I think I know the answer, but what is a herd of rhinos called?
It's a group of rhinos, and what are they called? Are they called a herd?
A group of rhinos, sorry.
And are they called a herd?
No. Oh,
A flock?
Are they called a herd? A flock?
A crash?
A crash?
Or a troop?
I think it's also crash. Who was that in the background?
It's my alternate ego.
Ah.
His name is Ryan.
Oh, you're cheating now. You got multiple
Oh.
people.
I think they're just standing next to each other. So
It's about a friend, not friends.
I feel like it's crash. Do you guys also feel like it's crash?
It's crash.
All right.
Yeah, because they got a crash.
All right.
Okay,
No.
Never mind, yeah.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
I love how she was going to go into work and ask me.
Yeah, that's about work things.
But I feel like it's crash.
It's crash. And that's your final answer. So I would go with the opposite of what they said. That would push me away from it. But
Well, I would have to know as a true rhino
yeah.
what it is.
So
Final
you
answer.
are correct. It is a crash.
There we go.
Where did you hear that? Where did you learn that? Do you call yourselves the Crash?
No. You learn all kinds of weird rhino facts when you're a rhino.
When you're a rhino? I guess so. Well, man, 3 out of 4. That's not too bad. I think you may be tied for the lead right now. So good job.
Yeah, and I feel like the one question I missed, like you tricked me on that on purpose.
I did. I had to. I tried to trick you on a couple of them.
Good
But
job.
it's been a pleasure having you on the show, Jeff. I wish we had more time to talk about multiple different things, but I enjoy hearing about you and about how you made it to where you are today and all the value that you have to add when it comes to business and commercial roofing in general. And obviously, RYNO is absolutely amazing. If I'm a listener listening at home and I want to get a hold of RYNO and talk to you about my website or any marketing advice or anything like that, how do I do that?
A couple of different ways. You could email me, Bowab, B as in boy, OWAB, at RYNO, RYNOSS.com. I'll give out my cell phone. Most of my customers just text me. We're super close. Great relationship. So 757-510-2671. I'll either help you, have somebody on the team. We've got a young lady named Blake Medlin, who's our roofing specialist at RYNO. She's been at all the shows. I'm sure a lot of your listeners probably know who she is. But we will get you taken care of one way or the other. So 757-510-2671. Just shoot me a text anytime.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks for coming and thanks for joining us on the show, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, man.